And that's a fun team to cover. And there's a lot of storylines. When you can go to the bench for Jason Tatum and Anthony Davis, we're pretty good.
His job of getting to watch Team USA practice, that's amazing. So when I moved out here, we were able to get like media passes to the Lakers. So I would go to some Laker games like 2 hours early, just stand courtside and like LeBron's warming up right here. Yeah. Or not before LeBron got there. But it was just like, I would love to do that and watch Luka Doncic put up like 75 shots. Like, I'm a nerd like that about hoops.
I said this years ago. Mark Cuban had just purchased the Mavericks, but he was a national figure. And I was working in Portland. So this is a long time ago. And I'm doing a 6 o'clock news report. And just before I go on, Dirk Nowitzki is he's shooting around the three-point ring. 21 of 22.
Yeah, he's got
20, and the one that didn't go in rattled in and out. And it's like people have no idea.
But that's Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, I've watched like Lonnie Walker, end of the bench guys, make like 18 straight. I'm like, what? How is he not playing more? I'm like, oh, that's right. He's in the NBA. These guys are really
And these are the
good.
world's best players.
Yeah.
What would practice be like?
I know.
I've talked to Mark Few, the Gonzaga coach, who's helped in this coaching for years with the Olympics. And he said it is. And by the way, he's got NBA guys at Gonzaga. He's like, Colin, it's just hard to explain how good LeBron and Durant and those guys are. He had Durant in his prime. And he told me, he goes, I've never seen a guy. This is Mark Few on Kevin Durant. He goes, all the great players I've done at this Olympic level, he gets his shot every single time. You can't trap him. You can't take the ball out of his hand. If Kevin Durant wants to get a good look, he will get it every single time, regardless of who you put on him. And he said, and he's like, and this is at practice and games against the world's best players. So that's why I always, despite all the stuff with KD, to the end, I'll defend him. He is one of the great gifted offensive players in the history of the sport, like way up there, top 5, 6. Fox Sports Radio and Tire Rack giving away a set of 4 tires every 2 weeks this summer. Every 2 weeks. To enter and get rules, visit foxsportsradio.com, foxsportsradio.com, furnished by Tire Rack and TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. Los Angeles, it's the Herd, wherever you may be, and however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. We'll check in on the USA Olympic basketball team. Some news on Bronny James. Bad news for one former NFL legend. Dallas Cowboys in a bit of a bind. I'm not sure they know it yet. Tomorrow's headlines today with J Mac. We've had a really good week. A lot of good guests. A lot of interesting stuff. Eric Musselman was great in the last hour yesterday. College coach, former NBA coach. J Mac. So, when Bill Belichick only really interviewed with the Atlanta Falcons, the take was, what? And Belichick's allies around the league all said, you got to be kidding me. Atlanta is the only team that considered him. But I saw something today which the rest of the league is seeing, and this could explain a little bit about the fear of hiring Belichick. So Bucky Brooks works for us. FoxSports.com did an article. It's a great article on the 10 best current rosters in the NFL. And the rosters are, and I pretty much agree, up and down, pretty close. Niners, Eagles, Chiefs, top 3. Lions, Texans, Ravens, Dolphins, Jets, Cowboys, Browns. We can argue back and forth. But the Houston Texans at number 5 is absolutely terrible for Bill Belichick. Because that franchise was a joke in the league. And then Nick Caserio, who was the director of personnel in New England, took the job 3.5 years ago and has crushed the draft and crushed free agency. In 3 drafts, Houston now is a top 5 roster from a bottom 3 roster. Joke to playoff team in Houston. They just added a star edge, a star running back, and a star wide receiver in free agency. He has made almost no mistakes, Nick Caserio. He may have missed on an offensive lineman in 3 drafts. That's it. Yet New England's last 6 drafts, of which Caserio was in the building for a few of those, several of those, probably last 7 drafts, have all been putrid for New England. So either Nick Caserio suddenly got brilliant when he got on a plane and flew to Houston, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of those drafts, because he was in New England for years, and the drafts kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse when Caserio was there. So either he got brilliant once he got on an airplane and flew to Houston, or Bill Belichick trumped all of his advice, would not listen, and took over the drafts, which I was told Bill was prone to do in mid-January, early February. I got it from here. Because New England's draft, and Caserio was part of many of those, were awful. Now he goes to Houston, and they're all great. I mean, there's an argument outside of maybe Green Bay. Who drafts better the last 3 years than Houston? Who's done a better job in free agency than Houston? And they had bad ownership. New England had great ownership. They had no momentum. New England had all the momentum in the world. This is an indictment on Belichick. He didn't get very few interviews because he can't coach. But as he is aged, stubborn, rigid, only wants to coach certain people, and he craves power. This is what a Popovich craves later years. A Belichick craves. A Tony La Russa craves. The older coaches, they've got the legacy. They've got a ring or 2 or 6, and they got the money. So if everybody's wondering, why can't Bill get the job? It's not about the teams. It's about Bill's unwillingness to work with others. Everybody knows he's a great coach. Best defensive coach of all time. That's not the question. So everybody's blaming the teams and the owners of the teams that pass on him. It's not about that. It's about Bill's potential unwillingness to just coach, and that is it. That list with Houston as a top 5 roster, and I don't doubt it, is an indictment on Belichick and nobody else. So this is funny. Bronny James has become the most popular betting pick for Rookie of the Year. Don't tell me the economy is bad. Clearly, there's a lot of money to burn in America. The last 7 NBA Rookies of the Year, none of them have spent a day in the G League. And Bronny right now is a G League player. So the Democrats should use this during the national convention. The Bronny Index. I'm Joe Biden. I approve this message. Look how good our economy is. People are betting on Bronny to win Rookie of the Year. Flights are packed. We all got big screens, and everybody's betting on Bronny. And an inconceivable award he has no chance to win. That's a strong economy. But it also really speaks to how absolutely dreadful this draft was. The number 2 pick, Alex Sarr from France, is 1 for 21 in his last 2 games with 2 points. He's the number 2 pick. 0 for 7 on threes. He's not a prospect. He's an IKEA manual. You open up the box. Is this from Sweden? Did they send me all the parts? He's below a prospect. He's been awful. And he's the number 2 pick. And this illustrates why I defended the Lakers and LeBron James and Clutch Sports. I mean, they had some leverage, did Clutch Sports. I'd be careful about using it every time I have it. But this is no big deal. This is not worth all the grifters on the internet and bad actors losing sleep. It's a bad draft. The players drafted above him are G Leaguers. The players drafted below him are G Leaguers. And the number 2 draft pick, Alex Sarr from France, has been absolutely offensively terrible. So, and for the record, Bronny actually and Dalton Connect, the other Laker rookie, both had a really good game yesterday. And Bronny finished with 13 points on 50% shooting. So he's had back-to-back pretty good games. Bronny has. Not the number 2 pick. He's had terrible games. Bronny's actually had back-to-back pretty good shooting games. So I don't think he's a natural, fluid offensive player. I don't think he ever will be great. My take, though, isn't necessarily the shooting. It's that he's a 6'1.5" player who doesn't play point. So if he improves his ball handling and can bring the floor up even occasionally for the Lakers and play excellent defense, he had a couple blocks yesterday, I think Bronny could stick at the end of a bench or, like a 7, 8, 9, 10 player, not going to get tons of minutes, but a defensive player, if he can bring the ball up the floor, his shooting will get better. It almost always does for young players. Very few guys come out of college as dead-eye shooters. Almost nobody, especially at the NBA three-point range, almost nobody. So, but here's what I will